I think that it's a little bit of both. Probably a little bit more skewed towards the personnel than it is the system, but the system doesn't help. The Grizzlies have a system in place that's kind of catering to the strengths of Marc Gasol and Mike Conley, Zach Randolph, and working off them and building off what they've been able to do the past couple of years. I think that the starters have looked pretty good offensively. I don't really see there's much of a problem there, but when you go to the bench, that's where it just kind of the wheels are just kind of fallen off. And I think it came to a head last night in the first half when Dave Yeager decided he was just going to let them burn out there. And, he had Vince, Courtney, Beno Udrih, John Lure, and Kosta Koufos all on the floor at the same time. And I think that the way that this offensive system is built, you're going to need one or more of Mark, Conley, and Zebo on the floor at the same time, or at any given time. I don't think we can go through stretches without any of them because our offense is built to lean upon them. So the first issue is Vince Carter, obviously, and he's not going to be this bad forever. I mean, he's just Vince. He's playing into form. I know that he's dealing with the ankle, and a lot of people are going to lean on that. But I think another thing is we're kind of putting him in a position to do something that he hasn't done in a couple of years, and that, quite frankly, he's been able to extend his career by gravitating away from. So he's kind of taken time to build traction everywhere that he's been. And he recently learned in Dallas to become this guy that leans on the rest of the offense and is just an awesome jack of all trades. He can spot up and shoot. He can create off the dribble a little bit. But doing so by working off guys like Monte Ellis and Dirk Nowitzki, some of the greatest offensive players in the game. Now what's going on is if you put him out there with this, fully benched lineup without much playmaking around him, you're saying, hey, Vince, be that number one option that you just learned to stop being and extended your career by, moving away from playing like that. So now he's kind of not only dealing with his ankle, but he's trying to work with this, and I think it's just a really bad position to put a guy in on a new team, no matter how veteran he is. So I think that's definitely one big part of what's going on with the offense. Secondly, I'm looking at Beno Udrih, and I like Beno a lot. Let me first preface this by saying that,
You're not one to be known to like Beno there, Steve.
Well, this is the thing. I've developed a reputation for myself for not liking Beno. But what I want to say is that I do appreciate him for what he is. I just kind of want to temper against the expectation that he's good enough to be the second point guard for this team, and that, we do need Nick Kalathis because, Beno does have his flaws. That being said, he's easily the best third-string point guard we've had probably ever. Probably the best third-string point guard in the league, and even better than a lot of the seconds that we've run out there. The thing is, offensively, he's great creating for himself, and I think he's really good working the two-man game. But when it comes to running an entire unit by himself, I don't really see him being able to do so. I mean, he's had some good side pick and rolls with Mark, and he's tried to work a couple with Lure, and he's good at finding seams into the basket and then either finishing or kicking out to a shooter. But overall, I mean, he seems to be more of a guy that's a good option to lean on when the play breaks down and have him do something. But in terms of creating for everybody, I'm not entirely fond of how he's been able to do so. And that's not really an indictment on him. I think he's a useful player to have. It's just that he definitely has his flaws, and we haven't gotten into the defense yet because we're just looking at offense right now.
Yeah, I do think I actually do think that with Beno, he really would fit well next to Kalathis as a two guard in the system. I think he's got such a pure shot, as you were saying, coming off the corner or driving and just that mid-range floater, that mid-range jump shot that he's got. It's almost automatic. I mean, when he shoots it, I think it's going in. There are some guys on the team when they shoot it, I don't expect it to go in, Tony Allen. But when Beno goes up and shoots it, I expect it to go in. And so I think he would. I really am encouraged about his offensive play. We knew he was we knew he had a good offensive game. We knew he could shoot the ball. But I'd love to see that next to Calathes maybe get some run once Nick comes back, and I think we might see that. You brought up the starters. By the way, guys, if you're watching this in Google Plus, you will be able to see anything that I showcase. So items that I share with you guys, you can they're links to websites, and you'll be able to select that, and you can go. One of those things where I find all of my stats is at NBA.com/stats. They have revamped their statistical, I guess whatever their statistic site, their website, and so it now has tons of information. They've incorporated the Sport VU, which tracks the ball and tracks the players while they're on the court. They've incorporated that into their statistical analysis and what you as a fan and what we as media can use. And so everything that I have access to, you guys have access to as well. So NBA.com/stats. If you ever need to know information or you wonder where I'm getting most of my information that I post on Twitter, that's where I'm getting it from. And so one of the numbers that I was looking at in regards to our starters, the on-off numbers for each starter is stark contrast to our bench play. Every starter, with the exception of Tayshaun Prince, so basically Tayshaun started 2 games when Courtney was out. So I'm just going to refer to our starters as the 5 guys that have played, that have started the other 3 games. That means Courtney Lee plus the other 4. When they're in the game, the offense clicks. When they're on the court, the offense is clicking at a rate of 104.1 or better. So that's better than our entire season last year average. So with those 5 guys, at any time when one of them is on the court, our offense is producing at a very efficient rate, comparatively speaking, I should say. No one on the bench, however, gets a better rating than 92.1. So you see all of our starters have a 104 offensive rating, but then all of our bench has a 92.1 or less offensive rating. So that just goes to show you that, and I think Dave Yeager picked it up last night in the Suns game finally, in the second half. In order to play the bench, an entire bench unit out on the court at the same time, I mean, it's just impossible for them to score. You've seen that happen now time after time after time. It's been 5 games. We've seen the all-bench lineup in every game, and in every game they've surrendered a lead. I think as a collective unit, they've been negative in the plus-minus pretty much every game as the bench, each bench player. There's been a few exceptions. Quincy Pondexter had a really good game and was really productive a few times. But on the whole, most of those guys are struggling as a unit. Now, last night, second half, you see them out there on the court mixed in with some starters. What happened? Offense was clicking. The defense was clicking. The defense is not a problem with this unit or with this team right now. The defense is amazing. The offense is the problem.